is it just starting now? So I don't think there's anybody here yet. Excuse me. Yes, burping here. Let's make sure the audio is off up there. Yes, that is good. That's down here. Over here. All right. Play this. And I think we'll start making an episode fairly right away here. And maybe somebody else. Cool. Hello everyone, this is of course Gamer 1745 and we're going to be playing some, yes you got it, Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice. Hello Aurora, good to have you here. Black Ice 11.1 along with Third Reich events, German graphical or German gameplay augmentation, units of the Third Reich, and the D-Worms mods, and my other smaller mods. Well, okay, couple of sort of announcements at the beginning of this episode. First off, I didn't with this because I was sort of under time pressure. With all of these mods together, our last few days that I've been playtesting them, whenever, oh, you're from, hello, Fernan Gonzalez, hello, good to have people from, in the description should, yeah, probably should update things. Need to do that, not sure which description you're seeing, but, oh, down the scroll, yeah, I know, because I'm actually running late getting everything ready, but you're right, it should be Aurora. I just copied and pasted that from an earlier one, absolutely right. And I'll see about doing it after the stream here, so people later get on. Okay, a note that so far when I've been testing, most of the time, 80+% of the time, if I try to save with all these mods, not just with Hearts of Iron, Black Ice and TRE, that was fine, but adding GGA and the D-Worms mods, and I'm not sure what's doing it, but adding those two mods, if I try to save in January, it results in a crash to desktop. So if you wait till February or the autosave, now I don't know if it, I haven't checked every date, and a couple of times I did get it to save in January fine. This is, I've gone back and had to restart this several times, not just because of that, but play through it. I think I fixed everything necessary for the D-Worms mods and given the fixes to Revolver Held, who's sort of maintaining them. That may have been causing the crashing issues. The laws, not Alexi, he does UTR. The D-Worm does the D-Worms mod. Made a complex conditional setup to some of the laws. And the laws we're talking about, it's a file, but it's these things here, specifically targeting certain nations. I think nicely coded, but I didn't feel like going in and try to fix that and make it compatible with current Black Ice laws that they've changed and done a lot, including adding adding more laws here. So my recommendation, unless somebody really wants to go in and fix the whole thing, is just delete that file if you've got it. And like I posted up to the GGA forum a new set of the country files that are specific, that generate things like the heads of government and whatnot, for all of the ones that he did. Updated them that they should now be working fine with Black Ice. Multiple problems, but the biggest one is he didn't have, when they did he did his, there wasn't a Minister of Science. So countries like Turkey, Romania, and whatever weren't getting a Minister of Science. Hello, Altiza, how you doing? Good to have you here. So he's got a fixed version. If you want to go to the GGA thread, you can find the files I gave to him, and you can figure out where they go. It's not that hard. It's folders common, subfolders to that, countries, and stick in there. So yeah, I've just replayed. You know, guys, I'm back to hating 1936. And I had I know it says Star Streak there, but that's, of course, Strong Arm. Good to have you here. Good to hear. And Arno's here. Great, my friend. Good to hear, Altiza. Why am I keep replaying the same thing? Well, up until about a half an hour ago, I was playing and testing this just to see if my changes seemed to be working. And so it was either play something I'm entirely like, which I was sort of a day or two ago thinking I was going to be playing Hearts of Iron 4's World Ablaze mod, but which is on the to-do list today, but just haven't even made sure downloaded, figured it all out yet. So is either try to play something I'm entirely unfamiliar with, go back to sleep, or sort of play this. So I figured hopefully you guys would want to good old days before World War II. Yep. So yeah, so we're going to be playing through 1936, and we can talk about things and hang out here. Hopefully, have an enjoyable time. So yeah, that's sort of the thing. Everyone watching is just like too much stuff to do. And also, who's not here? I don't think now. Aries giving me a copy of the game U-Boat. I want to play that, but I need to, for you all, but I need to at least get a little familiar with it before trying to stream it or make episodes. Money, Turkey, no. We have the SSVT Inspectorate. Here we will be getting a higher HQ money. No. Okay, now just everyone, if you're playing as Germany, don't do trades for any materials, any of these four things, with nations that you're going to be invading in like 1940, or plan to invade at any time, more or less. Because you'll end up you can just take their reserves of steel, coal, rare materials, or oil when you conquer them. Now, so you want to trade with. Now, I trade with the Soviet Union for various reasons, but you can also trade with countries like Latin America, or Romania, or somebody that you're going to be having as an ally. Because obviously, if you're going to be an ally, you're not going to be invading them. Well, selling them supplies is a different matter. We can take a quick look here, because yes, you would get their money, and so but normally when you get their money, money is unimportant, and this is one of my biggest disagreements with the Black Ice team. Not entirely. I mean, it's still, we can still come in here with a lot of these massive investment things. They have a much bigger impact for money on these things than I do in TRE. As well as paying for other things. I look at money in this game, the way this game is designed, as purely an international means of an exchange, or primarily, if not purely, primarily. And so if you wanted to create a law, specialty law that could maybe only be available for some countries or something, is like for Latin America, import foreign teachers. So like if you're Latin American, you're going to import, say, more educated teachers from some country like Spain, because they speak Spanish. So you're going to import them, and they want to be paid in their sort of home currency or something like that. Yeah, that would be a way that money would affect education. But Germany or America or Britain or the Soviet Union can print as much money as they want and can pay for it, just pay for as much stuff as they want. Now, of course, Germany and parts of Europe, but particularly Germany, has experienced hyperinflation. So Germans are hello, Ethan, how you doing? Are well aware that inflationary, just printing money and putting it into the system can be a very dangerous thing. And World Ablaze, I mentioned a while ago, Uncharted, he and I disagree about how much inflation should be affected in this game. I think very little, because of my reading of the histories. And I know a lot of you and I watch a bunch of TIK's videos, and he's a Austrian economics viewpoint in markets and all that stuff. So he's really big into that detail. Not that he's entirely wrong, just I don't go as far as he does for sure on the viewpoint. But it wasn't until JFK's presidency did they finally really remove the tax brackets of things like 90% of and the way the taxes in America at least work is if you were making a lot of money per year, not just that you had a lot of money, but you were making a lot of money per year, you'd be paying 90% of your income to the government. But that wasn't 90% of all of your income. It's like the first, $10,000 you're not paying any taxes on. At the next $10,000, you're paying 50% or whatever. And it's sort of, different percentages. But eventually, over certain limits, it was like 90% of what you were coming in was going to the government. So you hardly got to keep anything. That was all because of World War II and to some degree the Depression before it. And they finally stopped that in the 60s, and there was still trickle down of some of that into the 70s and into the 80s. So they were still sort of paying the, are not paying for the war because they lost the war, because they, like Britain won the war but had, bombings in their cities. But in America, which really didn't have any real war damage on any of its industry at all, from bombings or shellings or anything like that, paying for the war well into that. So yes, if managed improperly, you could spam out enough money and cause inflation or hyperinflation. But the Germans, and especially this guy Schacht here, who's president of the Reichsbank, understood that. He is probably the of the guys in, not everybody in Germany, but of the guys that are in high levels of government, he is probably the one who understands economies the best. I'm not an expert on him, but from what I've read, he really understands economies, which is different than understanding, say, production or some other things. That would be like somebody like Speer or Todt or somebody else. But he understands economies. So within reason, a government, can spend as much money domestically as it wants, and over a 3, 4, 6-year period, not over a 20-year period, but over a less than a 10-year period, it's not going to have significant negative effects, in my opinion, of inflation, of those kinds of effects. So, hello, Norbert, how you doing? Good afternoon to you. We could give them money for rare materials. So this is where I think money should be used primarily, is things that cost internationally. So I have I've removed a lot of the internal costs for things like Germany, including with TRE. And now, you can switch back, and some things are easier to switch back than others. Some are just literally either deleting a file in my folder or copying their file into the folder. Some are that simple if you really want to have that. But what I'm trying to do is present you, the player, what I think is the most historically correct version of the game. Not the easiest, but the most historically accurate one. These things here, once you get them and then have the choices, have a large money cost, especially these two here. Monumental architecture and giant infrastructure project has a huge money cost in standard black ice. Well, what I did was, there's still a money cost, but it's like 10%. But I've maybe doubled or more the supply costs, and a check to make sure you have enough supply, so you're not just negative spending and having it disappear. So you have to make the production of making the supplies to pay the cost for these types of things, which you can find if you're all confused what I'm talking about here now or later. It's too far. It's here, it's the party palaces, it's the railroad tycoon. It's these things here. I've radically reduced their money cost, including some of these heroic tales, but you have a equally or bigger supply cost. So again, I'm not trying to make it easier, it's just you have to generate the stuff. Also, can't pay nations in debt to repay in the future. That's part of the whole idea of government savings bonds, and then particularly during the war bonds, is not that the government needs the money. Okay, that really isn't the thing, because again, governments, most of these currencies by this time are no longer backed by gold. They're no longer a hard currency. They're no longer a species currency that's backed by gold or silver or whatever. They're a fiat currency. They're a declared currency. So now, if you could, maybe the Swiss franc is still a gold, and maybe, but I don't think the pound still is. But maybe it is. I don't know. But there may be a few currencies that are still thought to be fully backed by a hard asset. Maybe. I'm not an expert on all the countries everywhere else, but I know like Germany is not. I know the U.S. is not backed by gold or silver anymore. So the government doesn't need the money to fight the war, like in the U.S. for the war bonds. What they need to do is have all these workers that are working in a factory making bullets. Well, those bullets are being shot. So the worker walks out of the factory with his paycheck and wants to go buy something. Well, there's nothing to buy because everything is, all the clothing companies are making uniforms, or all the shoe manufacturers are making boots. I mean, it's not 100% that, but you get the point. So there's nothing to buy with this money that you now have in your pocket. Yeah, you can buy lunch, you can buy dinner, you can pay the rent. There are some expenses that you can do, but you're getting paid so much. But you're not making toasters, because if you're making toasters, that factory sells the toasters. You can go buy a toaster, and you can go buy a radio from somebody who makes it in the other factory. You can go buy all these consumer items. That's how economies work. So since you can't go spend this money on things, you can't go buy a car. We could buy a used car, but you can't go buy any other cars because all the car manufacturers are making trucks. There's nothing to big time to buy. So what they want to do is they want to take that money out of the economy. They sell it as paying for the war, and in a way it is, but they sell it as that. But really, it's to take that money out of your pocket, put it into something that will give you some interest back. So you'll get if there isn't too much inflation, you'll actually make money. Or if there's a moderate amount of inflation, your buying power will stay the same. So you put in $100. You get back like $120 in however many years. That will still buy $100 worth of stuff, and so you can spend it later. And that's what war bonds are really about in this time. So that's how they work. And that's why they work. And government bonds are the same type of thing. whether they're municipal bonds. Sometimes there's, meaning like a city will go, hey, we want to build this big bridge across this river, and it's going to take a long time, but we're going to put a toll on it once we build it and collect money going across it. So if we do a municipal bond, put it out there, and then collect tolls going across it, that in 20 years we'll be able to pay off the bonds, but we won't have to save for 20 years and not have that economic activity that's generated by the bridge operating and by cut down distances and more stuff going on. So we pay for it today now, with money borrowed, and we pay it off, and maybe in the long run the city will actually make money on the whole thing. But that's the way government bonds work. Hi Skynet, how you doing? Not really. I could go through that now. That might be of interesting. Yes, as that's divisions, we want that. Okay, this is Magdeburg. Where is Magdeburg? Somewhere up here, but yeah, I was sort of right. Okay, here. Okay, we'll build that, but what I want to do here is just drop in a second oil refinery. Okay, we're going to do the big investment. Isn't really worth it if you just want to spend money for a little bit more, because you can see just a little bit more. That's the one you probably want to do for the best outcome. But hey, I give players choices. You can choose not to go with the that's the start of okay, so we have gone down from high popularity to medium popularity. We could do the mixed support. Okay, let's talk about the mixed support right now. We're going to do mixed support brigades. And so we should be able to make 2 of them. Motorized, well, yes, let me start with motorized support. Okay, motorized support. Yes, you get to pick 4 of these 6. Now, okay, these can be looked on as one of 2 ways. Either, but if you're looking at it here, and you look at one of these things, say reconnaissance. Generally speaking, or like the motorcycle reconnaissance or something, and definitely the armored car, these reconnaissance units will give better advantages than picking this recon upgrade. So if you want to augment your reconnaissance, your standard reconnaissance, meaning you're going to have a division, a motorized division, you're going to include whether it's motorcycles for Germany or like Jeeps for America or whatever like that. You're going to do motorized reconnaissance or that type of thing anyways, but you want to augment it, have a bit more reconnaissance, pick recon. Or if you go, hey, maybe I'm not always going to pick reconnaissance, so let's, because we only can do 4 of these, and we have with TRE you now have a 8 brigade option again, but you still can't have everything in a division. So you may go, well, I really don't need to have a recon unit, so I'll just have this unit. Okay. So it's sort of you have to sort of pick your own what you want to do. Now, reconnaissance is either for motorcycles or for cavalry is pretty cheap anyway. So we're going to skip reconnaissance. Engineers can be sort of expensive, so we're going to go engineers. So we either are going to be upgrading. If we're going to include engineers, it's going to be an upgrade to engineers, or it's going to be a replacement for engineers. I think we're also going to do here we can look at the details. This is if you want to look at what these stats change at their base level. Now, because some of the other stats will change some of these here, but at their base level you can see, and you can read basic, and then you start motorized, and then you come start up here armored, and then you have airborne. Now airborne you only get to pick 3 out of it. You don't get to pick all. You don't get to pick 4. It's just 3. Okay, so we've got engineers. We could do light armor, but I don't think we're going to do it. We're going to do assault guns. See here, anti-tank detachment, heavy anti-tank, motorized tank destroyer. I also like the tank destroyer. So let's do next anti-tank upgrade. Okay, so we got engineers and anti-tank. The one thing I don't normally put into divisions is anti-air. So this, for me, and it's not as good as an anti-air unit, but it will be some more anti-air. So we're going to have anti-air as a sort of replacement for an anti-air unit. Okay, so now it comes down to here. Do we want to do artillery for me, or do we want to do assault guns? Because I really don't want to just include light armor for my motorized support. Because if I'm going to do proper armor, let's just do armor and have an armored division kind of thing. But do we want to have stugs here? So assault guns. We can look here for the, because there's standard motorized support and there's SS motorized support, basically the same thing. Okay, so soft attack is +6, hard attack is +5 for the assault guns. Now again, I think they will get some upgrades that with some of these technologies, you can hover over them. I think some of these will be moat piercing. I don't know. You can okay. Medium TD, I don't know. You can read in, and I'm not sure. Don't hold me to any of what is in it, but there are a bunch of these variances that can affect it. So just keep that in mind. So we could do assault guns, or we can do artillery for motorized artillery. Now, we could do either artillery detachment, and then you can either become a self-propelled artillery, which will keep it fast, or we can go not do that, and later on you'll have options as you get self-propelled artillery. It doesn't immediately show up. This would be the immediate, I believe, here down motorized artillery, or you can go with rocket artillery. But motorized artillery here. And this is the base. It's cumulative. So soft attack +5, but no hard attack. So again, back here, that is a +6 with hard attack. Just in artillery, it's +5. So that's more soft attack. Now, if you go self-propelled artillery, you can see here, yeah, it's a 0.5 more soft attack. So it's a very little more soft attack, but it's faster because you see the max speed is 3 kilometers plus 3 kilometers an hour, where here we can see, does it have well, it has terrain speeds here, movement. You see movement, like forest movement minus 50% speed. So this speeds this back up. So it's again sort of cumulative. But I'm seeing here now, more or less, assault guns are going to give us a little bit more boom for our buck, I think. So we're going to do stugs instead of artillery as sort of so that's our fourth pick there. So you get to do 4 and then final. Now, we're going to just do mixed support. This is your standard. Again, you get to pick 4 out of 8 now. And we can look over here. Some of these, you can see fuel consumption. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you want an infantry tank detachment, you're going to have fuel consumption. So if you attach one of these mixed support divisions to an otherwise all, let's find over here, otherwise all infantry unit that has no fuel consumption, and then when it's out on the Eastern Front and it has supplies, but it doesn't have fuel, it can't move. So keep that in mind. It's not just so much how much fuel is it going to burn up here. That's part of it. But if you get it out somewhere at the end of the supply lines and you run out of fuel, you can't move it other than strategically redeploy it. But you can't move it to attack. Can't move it to retreat. It's become stuck. So I'm going to try, at least try, to set up my mixed support, because we already have motorized support, my mixed support to not use fuel. So keep that in mind. So things like the amphibious armor is out. Now, so like if you're going to say build this kind of unit, mixed support for somebody like the Marine Corps, tailor it to the U.S. Marines as a support unit, yeah, that'd be great. Amphibious armor, something like that would be great. You're going to try to tailor it to sort of Britain. You want to do infantry tanks to your otherwise foot divisions. Okay, there's reasons to do this, but we're not going to do that here. So again, I normally don't do air, so we're going to, as a separate unit, so we're going to give it some anti-air. And because I'm not going to use these as a primary, these mixed supports as primaries in most divisions. Some that may show up because by event given, sometimes I will do specialty uses of them. So, yeah, what I'm thinking of also doing here is, let's see, basic. And in basic, you'll have a choice between artillery, rocket artillery, and pack artillery. So if you want to go, well, so here, pack artillery, it's there. So if you wanted to do, okay, it is artillery upgrade. Well, I guess you'll have a choice later on if you want to do it to, like, if you're in rough, if you're going to only attach them to like mountain units or light infantry units, or if you're a nation that wants to have pack artillery, go for that. What I'm thinking about here is soft attack +7 with rockets versus soft attack +5 with artillery. I think now the forward attack, is going to be +30% with artillery, only +10% with rockets. So, but we're going to go with rocket artillery here, I think, because I'm normally putting artillery in most divisions. So this is going to be a supplemental element. So let's go with a supplement of artillery that will become a rocket artillery supplement. Again, engineers can be sort of expensive, plus if we're going to have them there anyways, get a little bit more extra out of it. So we've got anti-air, we've got engineers, we've got artillery. So now really, in my opinion, it's either, because again, we're staying away from gasoline using units, anti-tank or reconnaissance. Well, I think, again, cavalry, okay, now here, I know this has the cavalry symbol on little r here for reconnaissance. These guys here in the photo, the men you see here, those aren't soldiers, those are workers. That's the Reichsarbeitsdienst. I know they have guns, but those are not men in the army. Those are men to dig ditches, literally. But actually, a lot of units either used foot reconnaissance, meaning just sort of light troops trained to sort of go out and designated to be reconnaissance, not necessarily riding horses, just out there, or bicycles were also quite often used for local reconnaissance as well as horse units. But reconnaissance, foot reconnaissance or cavalry reconnaissance, however you want to call it, non-motorized reconnaissance, is pretty cheap. So I'm not going to use that one. So really my only last option here is anti-tank. And we're going to take that, we can see here, anti-tank detachment here, we have +5 piercing attack. So that would be plus to whatever we have there. It would be, +5 piercing. And we might, though this does, if we were to go to heavy anti-tank, which is looking something more like the Flak 88s, I believe, but needs to be using fuel consumption. So we're probably going to avoid that. We're probably just going to do the anti-tank detachment, ultimately the anti-tank detachment. So that will get our 4th upgrade. So that is my thinking. Not that there's wrong answers here, it's just how you want to tailor your army on it. It was the Netherlands that had big bicycle culture and industry. Yes, the Netherlands, Aurora, Denmark as well. A lot of bicycling at this time period. I remember a 1930s made color documentary on Denmark, like something like The World in Color or something it's called. We used to do newsreels before or as in between movies in movie theaters going around the world, and this was one of the ones I've seen, and which was sort of a like a basically like a 10-minute travel log kind of thing going around, and they're like in places like Copenhagen or whatever, and yeah, talking about how so many people in Denmark rode bikes back at that time. So this was obviously in before, well, might have been made in 36, 38, I don't know, but it was that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of bicycles. No, I mean Denmark. You're becoming too much of a too influenced by Toyjet there. Toyjet sometimes has a loose connection with reality, so you can humor him to his face, but don't you don't need to actually adopt his viewpoint. Okay, so yeah, continue. We're gonna now TRE when there's the start event actually removes some of the infrastructure around, and because it was still being built, and I sort of kind of look at this, and what this will do is add more here, and what you want once that happens, you come down here, because you'll see all of these, and you want to get them to the top immediately. And basically it costs you nothing, basically. I mean, it costs you the what the event costs you. No cost involved there, but nothing more than that. Okay, we're back to high popularity, and we now have the Synoger. Good. That just all got built. More infrastructure there, which will either keep down or it actually lowered the cost of all this other industry here. So, but you don't want it to be stalled, because then it'll readjust and sit way down there, and you have to pay for it all over again. There are a lot of events like that that, generally speaking, are cheaper than building them yourself, but they're not free. I sort of work at, it's a wild ass guess. I'll agree, but it's sort of a somewhat educated wild ass guess as what these costs should be. Again, money. Now the reason there's money cost in this, because this is towards the sun. There are sun and Tagan. This is a cruise ship awarded for that. So going in multiple ones, but this is talking about a particular one here. These different cruise ships going around. You're going to be spending money in places like Portugal and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to have a money cost here, and not just a resource cost. So whenever I make an event, and it's dealing with external countries, and I think there should be a cost, that's where the money comes in. I still don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to do the math to figure out if all the stuff Black Ice cumulatively gives you makes. You want to say no to that. It's more of a joke. Well, it is a joke thing. I have a few joke things like that. They may not be funny, but they're my attempt at it. Somebody wants to figure out all the cost of TRE versus all of its bonuses, whether it's helps or hurts you, because like right now we have TRE start minus 10% universally down on ICs. So yeah, when it's critical to building fresh new ICs, you're being hit for 10% early in the game. So that is a cost that will be felt throughout the game. Now once you start the 4-year project, in my version, which I've disabled the Black Ice version of the 4-year plan, I should say, you get a 10% bonus and remove the negative 10%. So there are bonuses. There are build the train station or not, but proves your relations with Iran. Now this is supplies, because you're mainly doing supplies to Iran, and they're paying the cost of building the train station in Tehran. Big, beautiful train station for the Shah. This, yes. TRE gives you the, and yes, we want an HQ for the SS. Let's come in here and attach you to your HQ, attach this other core thing to the HQ there. You would like fuel for money. Okay, let's do that for a while at least. And we'll get the effects momentarily, I believe. But my evaluation of looking at the radio infrastructure is in Germany and largely controlled by the government, if not entirely controlled by the government, or the party, I should say. The base level of small entertainment shows, small heroic tales, and small news you get for free, and this will trigger very shortly. You can see here now. Hello, bot, I think, on YouTube. Russian bot. You can say something other than your little thingy there, and I might believe you're not a bot, but right now I think you're a bot. Yeah, so you get these for free. Oh, Britain also gets, I forget they get two of them. I think it's news and entertainment shows for the BBC. So yeah, that is a benefit for Germany. I think is historical and already pre-existing in place prior to 1936. That's sort of the key element there, is why it's free. Yeah, we put that and down here. Attach you to the higher up and stop you from being upgrading. Yeah, we want to do this because we don't want to lose popularity for the NSDAP. No, this is not TRE. This is the DWorms mods, I believe. Right. Good job, Arna. Actually surprised the bot noticed us on YouTube. Anybody's going to click the link or whatever. But Arno is a very good moderator here. I thank him greatly. Getting popular? Well, boy, I hope so. Werecrest. Maintain and improve the Werecrest. Now, this comes from GGA. So I'm not going to read all this, but I'll skim the first bit. A Werecrest was a German military district. A Werecrest was responsible for recruiting, drafting, training, mobilizing German soldiers for an army division. It was a very efficient method of drafting and training. It also provided divisions with trained person replacements. So this is sort of a distributed depot training system for Germany. You got a lot of manpower gains. We will be getting, but notice there is like a 1% up until the end of the game, or unless somehow the effect was removed, 1% IC costs for all these and supplies, but you get other benefits there. And that's GGA. Hello. Yes, it is Germany. We are playing as Germany. That looks Korean to me. Is that Korean? Are you from Korea? It doesn't look like. Well, yeah, Nazi Germany. I'm not a Nazi, but yes, this is Hitler's Germany. (1936) Yep, 1936. The Pomeran Wall. We want to continue building this. Okay. Neustadt, Belgrade. That is, I believe, over here. Butchers, Cologne, Neustadt. Yeah. Okay, yes, we want to build this Pomeranian Wall, basically. We can lose popularity if we don't, but we will. Okay, cool. Korean. Got that right. Sorry, I don't read Korean to know how to pronounce your name. Korea is a cool country, but yeah. Well, at this time, Japan owned Korea. Not saying it was right, but it's just a fact that it did at this time. you know, in the 1930s. Yep, a lot of countries attacked each other over the years. Mostly the neighbors. Mostly you attack your neighbors. The Three Powers Pact. Now again, the world's a funny thing. In 1935, at the beginning of 1935, there was a reasonably strong, not super strong, but a reasonably strong alliance between fascist Italy, France, and Britain. They were sort of a united, somewhat united alliance in Europe as the victors of World War I. Well, with Mussolini going into Ethiopia, that basically alliance. And but even before that, even before Italy goes into Ethiopia, invades there, and they're still allied with France and still allied with Britain. In 1935, you have hello, Lord Samuel, how are you doing there? You have like Germany taking back the Saarland. Okay, they later remilitarize the whole Rhineland, but they take back the sort of Saarland right down here, Saarbrücken and Saarlouis, basically. Probably slightly different borders, but basically this area. This had still been occupied by France, and still economically, like the taxes and possibly sort of nationalized runs of the profits from factories down here were going into French hands. And I don't know quite exactly the extent of this, but so in 35, Germany gets this back, and it's only in 35 that they finally get this back. Well, this worries Mussolini because, well, Trieste had been part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This part of Austria here, our part of Italy, had been Austrian, part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and German-speaking. Mussolini is worried because of all of Germany together strong. Hey, Harry, Germany together strong, kind of thing. Talk that he might lose part of his territory. So he starts in 35 setting up, and it's finally signed in March 36, the Three Powers Pact. Later, and that is an alliance between Italy, Austria, and Hungary as an anti-German, anti-Nazi alliance. And so it's set up as, and Mussolini wants Austria to be a buffer state against German expansionism. So Hitler and Mussolini have met at least once by this time period. It was either 35 or 34, I forget. They've met once. Mussolini was sort of dismissive of this new sort of dictator dude up north and didn't go well. So he sets up an anti-German or anti-Nazi alliance there. Now things will change, but that is what is going on right now in this time period. Okay. Okay, hi, extreme lunch. Whoa, you're at work, cool. Nearly over. My job is a courtesy, but it seems I do everything I'm asked to do. Very good. They took back might be those two rivers in the Saarland. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, Aurora. Mostly because no, I think it's more. This is what they actually sort of occupy here. This area here, not the whole province, but this on this riverside here. Germany does not, when they build the west wall, does not defend. They build the defenses behind this river. Oh, I should have on. Let's choose battle plans. So you go to historical plans. This is what you should do. Is I just forgot to start it here. You hit BICE Geo, and then you do that, and now you get to see the river names. So the Moselle, I don't know what it's called here because this is the main one is the Moselle, but whatever's behind here, this is where they build the river. But it's actually more of the factory areas that they're sort of occupying. And since I have not been looking hard at 1935 like I have for building the mod for 36, I don't know exactly the details of taking back the Saarland. Was I presume? Well, not. Thank you, Arno. Yeah, if you would. Yes, and it's really helpful as a YouTuber, streamer, whatever you want to call me, to be able to talk about and remember the rivers because I can't remember. Even though I know right here is the Volga at Stalingrad. I know that, but until I look here, I don't know that. Oh, the top branch here is the Volga up here, and this is the Oka down here. I don't know all these rivers and what they're all called. I wouldn't have known that this isn't the Volga going this way without looking at this kind of thing. And so it's really good. So if anybody wants to update, add like other rivers, this would be the. Now I know right here this is the Ganges, and I think it continues sort of this way, but I don't know which branch is considered the Ganges River here going through India. Probably the southern one. But yeah, if somebody wants to add more to it and give it to the Black Ice people, that would be great. Love to have more rivers and place names. They also do the eagle's nest down here in small type with a little dot, and they put some of the C's. So if anybody wants to go in and edit that file and improve things, that'd be cool. I would love to have more stuff done. And it does a very good job for Europe. That it does. Second London Naval Treaty. What fools? And they're right about that. What fools? Yes, if you only have 2 or 3 powers in the world with nuclear weapons, or of any large numbers of nuclear weapons. I'm not talking like the few that Pakistan or India have, but I'm talking like Soviet Union, China, U.S., France, Britain, whatever. The big nuclear powers, and they all agree, and you think they're all abiding by the treaty. Sure, fine. But when you have other countries like Germany that aren't abiding by the treaty, well then, limiting yourself on naval production or any sort of stuff is a stupid idea. Artillery unit training. Okay, that is down here. And let's see, we'll probably find something better to do up there. 37. Pushing ahead technology. Okay, let's do naval HQs. And if you're new here, just know that tomorrow, Arno and probably Starstreak and a few others will be playing War Thunder on the channel. You can either obviously come and watch or actually join us and play along if you want to. We will get viewers in. Okay, 1936 elections, of course. The Nazis win. They get to say who and who's and what's being voted on. I'm not going to read all of these. The winter campaign, slow down enough here. I'll actually mention that. We're going to, in the episode, let's first save this. Save good. Yes, we're going to end the episode, not this live stream, so you guys can keep watching live, but those watching later on YouTube, thank you so much for making it this far in. If you're new here, of course, if you can give that, hit the subscribe button, or everyone can hit the like button. Really do appreciate it. See you next time for more, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, we'll make another episode here. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough and testing of Black Ice 11.1 with the latest versions, and I don't forget all the numbers, latest version of Third Reich events, German gameplay augmentation, units of the Third Reich, and the D-Worms mods. We're going to continue playing here. It's March 36. But if you're new, again, I know I just said at the end of the last video, but you can hit that subscribe button, and of course you can like the video. It all helps. Holland would have nukes if Arno was in charge. Well, yeah, he might start a nuclear program. I don't know if there's any Dutch people smart enough to figure out how nukes work. I mean, they know how to push the buttons, but actually how to build them. But yeah, okay, so we're going to get some of our detachments. Yes, we want engineers from my motorized support brigade. Yes, I want to upgrade my anti-tank for motorized support. Heavy anti. Oh, okay. See, now here we do heavy anti-tank guns or tank destroyers. We're going to do tank destroyers here for motorized support brigades. Engineers. Anti-air upgrades. Yes, I want to do that. And UDET leads AMP-T. Now this is from GGA, and this TAP gains popularity but loses air organization, and particularly right now this harmful is build speed, but hopefully that will change. We of course right now should be fully just building ICs this first year. I'm not even doing any upgrades or reinforcements. I'm making a lot of supplies because we need lots of supplies for various things, but everything else is. Oh yes, I've already talked about that. Well, now this is well, the winter relief campaigns, that's specifically the rant was on, the one that was the winter of 41, 42, the winter relief with the coats. Yes, I have done that, but the winter health was a sort of an every year thing under the Nazis, at least. Okay, we can continue training here. This is a TRE. That's actually, this really fascinating because they've added these sort of training bases here. Now I don't do a one-for-one match because that would be too much, but these really helped Germany. You can see what's going on here. This is a great picture. You've got this, well, at least 3-story standard story, then maybe whatever is up in the attic. I don't know if that's just storage or whatnot, and I don't know if this is obviously like a story below it, so I don't know if there's a basement that you go into, or I don't quite know. There's at least a 3-story building here that's pretty big for instruction kind of things of various types. And then you have these garages here and then along here. And I presume these are all the cars that and trucks that are normally in these garages. And there, and then the motorcycles here. This is the motor sports school of the National Socialist Craft Carts, which is the motorization, the NSKK. It used to be a sub-element of the SA back in the day, but they got out of from under the SA before the big, killing off of the leaders of the SA. So they're their own independent organization. Well, these are set up all over Germany. I don't know quite how many of them there are. There's another like a staff photo up here of one. And these are training people, not just NSKK members, but these are training people to be car mechanics, to be car drivers. Car driving is fairly rare in Germany, where motorcycle driving is very common. So a lot more men know how to drive, particularly men, know how to drive motorcycles that don't know how to drive cars. So you can't drive a car, well. I mean, not that they couldn't figure it out somehow, but not being a good driver. It also means you're not a truck driver very well for, the Army. So this is training, mechanics, training drivers. This is really helping motorize Germany. And so there's a bunch of stuff going on. So they build a bunch of this over time. These schools over, I don't know how many, but probably more than 10 of these things around Germany that are set up. And this is one of the elements of the NSKK. We get a little bonus from that. A little bonus to the police. Expander heavy. This is Leipzig. Okay, anti-air focus for motorized support brigades. We're going to do self-propelled because if I'm going to attach this to a unit, instead of going heavy, I want to go fast. So we're going to go mobility is the future, the SPAA. And for the just mixed support brigades, we're going to go anti-tank for that. So we can come here, click here, and you can see now some of these aren't maybe necessarily showing up just yet, because if we pick like a self-propelled AA and we haven't got to research self-propelled AA, they don't show up yet. So there's the prerequisite of also having that eventually. So that's a 42 technology. So we won't be getting the that scientists obtain text working at some facility in Holland, I think. Oh, did they just stole it? Oh, okay. I don't, didn't know they did that. Okay, diplomatic port. I'm not going to go into all of that. Okay, we have AA available for motorists. Yes, I want AA guns for my. These don't always fire in the best order, but yeah. So now we have anti-aircraft attachment. We just don't have self-propelled. You know, we could have got that was the choice between those two, or not have either one. But we're going to go that. You can see as self-propelled AA artillery at least one, and we don't have that. So that will be in time. Now, once we get that, we'll have that tech to the unit. That's just trying to explain to people. It's sort of complicated. It's a cool system they set up. Reich organization. This impressed me as a child. I saw this thing here, but the block, the Stella, which is like the neighborhood, the what is it? Ostgruppe, der Crest, and der Gau. You know, the whole thing. Der Gau is, you know, the Gauleiter. The Gau is sort of the province that the Nazis organized up in, and everything's organized in Germany at all of these levels by the party, which is integrated very much with the government. The party and the government are becoming one as time goes on. Nazi Germany was a totalitarian state, for sure. Okay, yes, we want the school for the SS. Direct fire unit, we're going to keep them from continuing. Yes, good. What is going to that? The artillery brigades needs to be, yeah. That. Okay, here we're going to choose rocket artillery. Here's the choice. Artillery, rocket artillery, or pack. We're going to go rocket, because most infantry divisions will get a standard artillery brigade. Yes, you may have that. More money for fuel. Figured that was going to come in time anyways. I'm going to keep that up for too long. Lust Ministerium, so the Air Ministry, yes, we need a big one. There's Speer, there's Goering. They're looking at the building plans. We need a big one, yes. Goering needs a big building to house him. And Bernescher, Sender, Paul Liptau, Berlin, Deutsches Freshner, Redfunk. So this is television, the greater Berlin area. I don't know quite how far out. In 1930, well, first aired 1935. In 1935, they get televisions. Now, when it says here, and I, got this, did the research and got this, about 160,000 viewers saw the Olympic Games on a few private TV sets and in many public TV chambers. What these public TV chambers were sort of like movie theaters. And they broadcast them up, I think, primarily on like a movie screen kind of thing. But it was live all around Berlin. Now, a lot of these theaters that saw them, it was actually sent in via wire. It was cabled. It was early cable for the movie theaters. But around the TV, around the Berlin, and continuing, it's for a few hours a day. Normally, I mean, much more during the Olympics in '36. And it started out with Achtung, Achtung by Ursula Pranchnik, that woman there, up until about the end of the war. That was her daily job, was to start. She was the announcer woman, but Achtung, Achtung in the beginning. Go through this. I can now pronounce all of the German there. It may have disappeared, but they had a sampling of it on YouTube for a number of years of what all this was, and that's sort of where I got these screen caps from. At least some of them here. Okay, ABS tracks and suspension, which will probably just, that was over, which we probably want to do that. That. Drop that. And 100 kilogram bomb. Okay, that should be one and done. In about 1936, Berlin, Greater Berlin area. I don't know how far outside of Berlin they had television. Paris, Greater sort of Paris area had television. London had television. And New York City area had television. I don't know if any other major cities like LA or whatever had television in before World War II. But those are the areas that I know had television broadcast daily. When I say daily, I don't know if they were like 7 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever. And it wasn't. In most cases, it was like for 3 or 4 hours or 5 or 6 hours or whatever during the day. Is what it was. It wasn't, 24/7 or anything like that. Plan Z, no Plan Z. Yes, Denmark is real. Arno wants us to fight, or otherwise he wouldn't have brought that up. And Germany also had, because if you look at this, this is a period sort of advertising Germany calling, so it's in English. And so this is Germany's building radio stations to broadcast around Europe, so it helps getting German propaganda out there. No, I didn't say that. Wrong arm. Trying to get me in fights with. Little things. Make sure that is it. Yeah, that's grayed out. Okay. You do eat a lot of herring. I don't know. See, I've not been to Norway. I'm not a particularly big fish eater. I mean, I eat some fish, but not a lot. So I don't know what. I know they used to eat lots of herring up in Scotland. Had been a whole herring industry, huge. Back at this time period, for sure, in the 30s and before. Sending lots of it down into down into England. Okay, fairly new event from Third Reich Events. The Chinese government in Guangzhou would like to purchase some Heinkel HE-111 bombers. This would improve our relations with the Guangzhou Clips. These guys down here, and this is a very real event. Those are the Heinkels sitting in China. Do we want to sell them some bombers? They'll get, I don't know, I think just one bomber squadron or whatever. I forget what it was. We'll get a little bit of money and improve relations with them. Or no, we want to support Japan only. Well, they've yet to come to war, but we will sell them and probably presumably train a few mechanics and whatnot to fly, repair and maintain them, and maybe some pilots. So we will sell them some. Well, I can eat some salmon. I'm not, like I say, not a big fish eater. I don't know that I really like mackerel, but salmon or like tuna or albacore or whatever canned, I like that. But no, not a lot of fish. I don't like sushi. Not a big fish eater. Okay, Energy Magazine, one of the technical magazines of Germany. Radios Advanced, nice. Researching that now. Come back to it later. Okay, Corps and Army HQs have advanced. Yeah, we'll stop at those. Well, let's do motorized HQs for the fun of it and battle. We'll push ahead on those two. Do we still have more? I guess we do. Okay. Eat salmon on bread. Yeah, I can do that. We'll do capital ship raiders. Good. Yeah. I once caught many years ago on my granddad's fishing boat. Yes, my granddad had a fishing boat. Caught about a 30-pound halibut. Big sucker. Took me hours to get that thing. I mean, I was in my teens, but young teens, I think, at the time. Took me hours to get that thing landed. And this is on a rod and reel kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I spent hours fighting a halibut one day. And the only reason I caught him was I got sort of a bird's nest in my reel of, you know, messed up line. So I had to drop a lot of line off there to get it all out there, and then to you know, reel it back in right, holding it and getting it done that way. So presumably the halibut had come up to the thing on the bottom and probably whacked it a few times to make sure it was dead or didn't move the bait. And so since, which a lot of people would have, you know, I probably is relatively inexperienced, would have reacted to that. So, but since I, you know, tried to jerk it or reel it in or whatever, because it would feel like a, you know, a bite on it. But no, since it was down on the bottom and just sitting there, and so I finally get going, and then I realize that there's something on the end of this thing, and it goes for hours. But let's make gamer eat more fish. No, I'm not going to eat fish. Okay, not more than I already do. A little bit, like I say, not a lot. Got some tuna in cans here, but that's about it. There we go. Researching. That's the biggest fish I've ever caught, about a 30-pound halibut. If it's good quality fish. Okay, let's take a look here. So we only need 37 supplies. We've got, what is that, 60,000 supplies right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to drastically lower our supply production, keep it going. And then let's see how that, we'll wait for the day to click over, so readjust. Still just producing factories. I like that. So that'll be good. We'll keep building up resources. Here we got +7 here, so we're going to, because I really don't need huge sums of money. You really you should either cut back on your sales of supplies, or do what I'm doing is they don't want to sell me. Well, I thought they had plenty of oil. I guess They're not liking me for some reason right now. I don't know. But the USA might like me enough. Okay. Let's buy some oil from the USA. It was right about 70. Slightly negative. Now all of these things here are going to cost. You need to trigger these in 1936. They'll go away 1937. But I'm going to wait until right about September 10th or so to trigger a bunch of those things. And then at that point, I will also see about using their new adjusted way to adjust some of the costs. We'll see about that when I get there. And yep, I know this is, for a lot of people, I've been playing this a lot, but I've been playing a lot more than you've been seeing. But I just need to test to see how this is going. One of the things, now that we're in at least slightly negative, we can of course afford it for a while. But I want to see if some smaller trades pop up that I can get. Okay, yeah, we want to build that. Form the Women Rad. This is a GGA event. The way it worked was there's actually sort of a really young sort of Hitler Youth program, but then there's the sort of standard Hitler Youth program that basically all German kids were supposed to be in. You can talk about some of the details, and we're not, obviously Jews and whatever are excluded, but there are resistors. There are both Protestant and Catholic, though the strongest resistance was coming from the Catholic programs, youth programs, but they actually, I think those, not sure, but I think most of those eventually get banned. I just don't remember right now. They probably by 36 they've already banned the Boy Scouts, because the Boy Scouts used to be, a long time ago, it was formed as a religious, just as a generic Christian Protestant, because it sort of formed in England and whatnot, but as sort of a Christian Protestant type organization, but just sort of generic and not overly religious. But so that's banned. So all of the children, boys and girls, need to come into the Hitler Youth. And then after the Hitler Youth, they go into the RAD, the Reichsarbeitsdienst, the German, or the National Labor Service, basically. And so you go into that, and at different stages, it varies how long you need to go into that. And then after that, with conscription, is for the men, you go into the army. So there's military training in the Hitler Youth. There's more military training in the RAD. And now most the early stuff, well, there's some field craft, and it's not so much like fire and movement, but it's how to march in groups, in columns and whatnot, do marching, how to shine your boots, how to fire a rifle, how to clean a rifle, those kind of things. Those are going on in both the Hitler Youth and the RAD. And so by the time with the Wehrkrest system we'll be seeing here, those are doing more military training, but it's all going along. So basically, if you're the right type of German, not a Jew, not somebody being excluded, you're going to go into the Hitler Youth, then you're going to go into the RAD, and if you're a man, you're going to go into the army. That is how that all works. Hello, Norbert. How you doing? That's how it works. The horse vessel. Without Googling it, I know some of you have heard it. Who knows what happens to the horse vessel? What happens to it after the war, or maybe during late war or something? However, the horse vessel. Obviously named after horse vessel. It is a vessel. The SA man who was killed. Does anybody know what happened to the horse vessel? Research progress from Willie Messerschmitt. Yes, I want to deploy motorized. Yes, motorized engineers. Don't know. I thought Arno would remember from before, because I know I've talked about this before. Maybe he wasn't around. Yes, Norbert got it. You were a girl, you ended up with a BDM. Yes, absolutely. Now, well, the BDM is part of the Hitler Youth. That's the women's branch of the Hitler Youth. And then, as that event talks about, then you go into the women's rad. Yes, Coast Guard training ship, the Eagle. It's still owned by the U.S. Coast Guard and still in operation. The United States Coast Guard still operates the horse vessel under the name Eagle. Tank destroyer. That's a picture of reenactors. Yes, motorized support brigades. Tank destroyer detachment. Stormtrooper tactics. Hoist up the anchor. Meh. So yeah, it's still around, still being used by the U.S. War booty, war trophy taken after World War II. Hello, Sergey Margaras, how you doing? Thank you very much. Just interesting things like that are still going on from World War II. The effects. The ship named after a minor SA guy that gets himself killed, who becomes one of the martyrs for the Nazi symbols, ends up as the U.S. Coast Guard training vessel. Separation of the weaker. No, I wouldn't say that. Okay, just this has been bugging me for the last few days, and some people talking about this. So I'll go into some of this stuff here right now. Let's just save this just to be safe in case I talk too long and it dies on me. Okay. When it comes to the Nazis, you say weaker sex. I wouldn't say so. The Nazi ideology is they want lots of children. Okay? They want lots of children. So they want women to get married and have children. That's what they want to have happen. Now, they very much acknowledge that there are special women out there that are going to do spectacular things. You have people like Hannah Reich, the pilot, who is an excellent pilot. She remains, to the end of her life, I would say, an unreconstructed Nazi. Maybe not the most, fervent, staunch Nazi, but generally a Nazi until to the end of her life. You have Leni Riefenstahl, the filmmaker, the woman who does the Triumph of the Will, the Nazi film, and she also does Olympus, or whatever, the Olympics movie. Now I have a photo of Leni Riefenstahl. I have a digital, a JPEG, not an actual photo, but I have a photo. I think it was taken in late 1939 or very early 1940. Was at the exact moment Leni Riefenstahl stops being a Nazi. She 100% stops being a Nazi. This photo captures that instant that she stops being a Nazi. You know how I know she stops being a Nazi? You see her face. It was taken in Poland. And she's surrounded by a bunch of soldiers. And they're all looking at something. But the photographer's looking back at her and taking her picture. In amongst all these soldiers. Because she is seeing the shooting of a bunch of Jews. So she was on board with the Nazis. All the good things that the Nazis were sort of quote-unquote doing. Making Triumph of the Will and Hitler over Germany, all that stuff. But her sort of first mass execution out in the fields of Poland as she's moving around and I think preparing to make a film covering the invasion of Poland. I think it's that. I'm not sure. But after that moment, she never makes another propaganda piece for Nazi Germany until the end of the war. To the end. She doesn't do a single bit of cinematography of anything that you even install until the Nazis are gone. Nothing. She immediately stops at that. So that photo captures the moment that she sees the horrors of what she helped bring about with her support for the Nazis and making Hitler look good and helping Hitler get elected. She immediately stops being a Nazi at that moment. And so, yeah, she's a spectacular woman. She goes, you can see some of her, like, she does documentaries down in Africa and some not deep sea diving, but sea diving, underwater photography, but nothing very successful after World War II. So, because nobody wants to employ her because of her association with the Nazi regime. But the Nazis will recognize that there are incredibly talented women out there. And the Nazis are fine with the idea of women working in the workplace, you know, the outside the home kind of workplace. They're fine with that. But they believe that for the benefits of the race, I'm not trying to put my views on this, but trying to put their views. For the benefits of the race, they believe that they should have a population growth. That is at a core of Nazi philosophy. Now, and I'll get to some of my thoughts in a moment, but this is the Nazi thought. So they are doing everything they can to encourage women to get married and have children. Now, there can be a grace period between, childhood and getting married for a few years to do some level of, work, as a secretary or other, I'm talking peacetime right now, not wartime, peacetime, other light sort of work, not working in steel factories or whatever, light sort of work. And they do not just allow, but think that that's proper, think that's proper, but it's best that they, have children and raise the children. But, they're looking at it. And also, again, women that are a bit older, their children are, grown or, in the older stages of, if they've had their 4 children or whatever it is, older stages of the youngest ones are being children, their later teen years, then yeah, they can do some other professional type work. It's not excluding them from a work environment. It's not that they're weak. It's not that they're mentally incapable of it. It's just they want to have that population growth. So culturally, they're looking at everything they can do to get the most numbers of German women working, or being, having children and working in the home. Now the war happens, of course, so they need more labor of all types, and of course, one woman can easily look after 6 young children, sort of like daycare kind of thing. So you can still have your children, but go to work in the factory, making, artillery shells or aircraft or whatever like that. But that's sort of emergency work for the war. That's sort of the Nazi view of it. They're not anti-women in the workplace. They're just, they very much want the population to grow, and they want to have lots of kids. Finding old stamps is very neat, especially of areas destroyed by world wars. Yeah, I'm sure. When I was younger, I used to collect, still have my stamp collection, Hannah Reich. Yes, she's the pilot. And like I say, she stays until, I think after the war, she's an unreconstructed Nazi until her death, Hannah Reich. Now, my view, I think women are quite capable of doing, and we're not talking physical here because there's definitely body strength issues and whatnot, but quite capable of doing most jobs. They're quite capable of it. And so, that's my view. But I see a tendency in the modern world to encourage women to do most jobs, or to do most non-labor jobs, shall we say. They're not seeming to try to encourage women to be bricklayers or plumbers. For some reason, it's always the office type job, or the sort of simple factory type job. It's never the sort of bricklayer or plumber. And I'm not talking like even heavy lifting, but just basic stuff. Where I think, like I say, I think it's fine that they do that kind of work. I think it's good if they want to do that kind of work. But I still sort of kind of think, because this is from my own experience, because my mother, she worked out of the home, but she, was primarily a homemaker. My father worked at that. I think it's best that women are raising children. Not necessarily, you see, now the Nazis, they wanted one woman to have lots of children. That's a different matter. I'm just saying, if you even have just one kid, why are you trying to encourage women to go out and work in the workplace so much? Encourage it. Not to say, like in the past, it was bad. No, it's fine if they do. It's good if they want to do that. That's the if they want to do it. That is perfectly fine and good. But there should be very much, in my opinion, a choice that's up to them to pick the path they want to have, not what society is sort of pushing them in one direction or another. At least that's my take on it. Okay, industry. Here, 1930. Okay, too far in the future, and submarine hull advance. Okay, we're waiting for submarine engines. So we can start researching some of those. That, and we'll stop. Most topics are complicated when it comes to the Nazis. High-speed train record, great. Diplomatic service reports, good. Broadcasting advance, okay. Italy finally conquered and annexing Ethiopia down there. Broadcasting advance, so we want to come here and stop that. Well, I guess we can do tank destroyers. And yes, you may have energy. Right now we're producing plenty of energy. Hello, Mamaldi. Thoughts on the real alliance with Italy? Not quite sure. Talking Germany's alliance with Italy? Well, I think it would have been better if Italy had stayed neutral. For Germany, it would have been better. If Italy had stayed neutral, if Yugoslavia and Greece had stayed neutral, then the only place the Western Allies or anybody could attack Germany in the Mediterranean would have been trying to land in the south of France. That would have, I think, so that Germany, and when it's just Britain fighting against Britain, you don't have to worry about that. Then once America comes in, they might, with the torch landings and whatnot, but they might not even do that. If France is neutral, Vichy France is sort of neutral, and Italy is neutral, would the Americans liberate France? Vichy France? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have a clear answer on that. I can't say I think this or that. They may. They may come down, they may not. I'm not sure. Because de Gaulle, of course, would maybe want to encourage it. Well, no, he would encourage it. Would the Americans have supported invading what otherwise neutral France? Yeah, maybe. So all they would have to do is garrison here. So they wouldn't have all this troops here. And if Italy was a friendly neutral, then they could trade with Germany, you know, whether make weapons to the German designs or, I don't know, import oil from someplace like Iran and then re-export it to Germany, you know, secretly to some degree. So they could trade with Germany. They could be a lifeline out to the rest of the world for Germany. And that would be all this kind of front, because even if you have Romania and Hungary, you know, as your allies in the war with the Soviets, probably Bulgaria would stay neutral as well if Yugoslavia and Greece were neutral. So that whole southern front, it just becomes this little bit of thing, and that's a lot less. Hitler would not have to worry about Mussolini trying to invade Austria. No. I've talked earlier about, you weren't here, I guess, the Three Powers Pact, that Mussolini was worried about that, but eventually Hitler charms him out of that pact, basically, and allows them to take over Italy. So yeah, I think the phrasing was, well, soft underbelly of Europe was always Churchill's thing, but the underbelly isn't soft. There's too many mountains. It would take a lot to convince the Americans to invade a neutral Italy. The Americans know that Spain is making weapons for the Nazis. They're making pistols, I know, for the Nazis. The Nazis are buying in large scale. They're making some other stuff going on. They're selling tungsten that's mined either in Portugal or in Spain and transiting across Spain into occupied France. They know that there's the Blue Division fighting in the east. Now it's pressure from the Americas that gets the Blue Division withdrawn, but they still leave a battalion of diehard Spanish fascists fighting. But America doesn't. America does occupy the Azores from Portugal out here as a anti-submarine kind of thing. These are the Portuguese, running it locally. Like, hey, yeah, the mayor, the local police chief are still the Portuguese guy, but it's, well, we're setting up a U.S. Army base here, or whatever, or Navy base, and flying, aircraft off and whatever, and you don't have a choice to buy it because we'll shoot you if you object, basically. So the U.S. does invade Portugal, or the Azores of Portugal, but otherwise doesn't go after Portugal or Spain, and only stops the trading with Spain by cutting off Spain from Germany. Now, Italy would be both a bigger trading partner and, of course, a better armed one than Spain was. So I really don't think America, and Britain wouldn't do it without America's permission. So if otherwise the Mediterranean is at peace, you may have U.S. occupation of, French North Africa, and then from there an impossible invasion. I don't know if it's there or, the Normandy type stuff would be the primary ones, or like it was a northern and southern joint invasion kind of thing, or something like that. But that's still a lot less garrisoning than garrisoning all this crap. And you'd probably still get a certain amount of trade during the war from Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, and Greece into Germany. So yeah, a friendly neutral Spain, I think, would be a bit better for Germany than what happened, or better than anything that would likely happen with Italy actively in the war. It's just like Norway. The amount that, by the time that D-Day happens, the amount of what they turn Norway into something of Fortress Norway. The amount of building of defensive bunker works. The amount of garrisoning troops. There's at least one armored division, maybe two, sitting up in Norway. Now they're second-rate armored divisions at best, with a lot of out-of-date and captured tanks and whatnot. But all of those units would be better used either fighting on the Eastern Front or being ready to keep an invasion from happening down here. So if Norway would have remained neutral like Sweden was, and still traded like Sweden was with Germany, and that kind of thing, still allowed the trade to happen, you know, the Swedish steel from up here and whatnot, that would have been better for Germany, clearly. And I really don't think whatever food that, because Denmark, I think, was a food exporter at this time, that they still might have exported food to Nazi Germany. I don't, you know, not invading Denmark, if it stayed neutral, probably would have benefited Germany as well. How ready was Italy for a war when the war started? Was their production plans ready? Oh, no, not at all. Italy is entirely incapable of fighting World War II. Mainline divisions. We're not talking, and we'll see some if we, I don't know if we'll get to it today or sometimes, you know, some ersatz divisions here in Germany, meaning home army divisions. We're not talking home army type divisions or reserve divisions. We're talking primary frontline divisions in Italy. Many of them have World War I artillery pieces. Not the same models, these same guns. Guns that have been used and abused in World War I are still being used in Italy. Most Italian infantry divisions, if not all, have a mountain gun attachment as part of their artillery. Mountain guns are lighter, easier to move through mountains, but they're also less effective in most terrains. Now, part of that reason is that they have them is the spine of Italy, but also in designing, you know, defending early on with their plans of the Three Powers Pact and whatnot, fighting up here in, you know, these mountains, you know, these part of the Italian Alps, if you will, and down here, there's a lot of mountainous terrain that regular, we're not talking about the Alpini divisions, the mountain divisions. There's going to be a lot of use for, you know, potential use for mountain guns for regular divisions. But it is also because mountain guns are cheaper to manufacture, and particularly their ammunition is cheaper to manufacture because it's smaller, easier to make. Because they can't make enough ammo or even enough guns to equip their basic divisions, their sort of primary divisions. Italy is entirely unprepared for the war. Mussolini comes into the war about the day or date that the Germans are occupying Paris. Okay, so Mussolini comes in thinking, oh shit, I got to get in this war to, you know, grab up some French territory here, maybe grab up some French colonies before this is all over. So he thinks he's coming in just before the war ends, but the war is just beginning. Italy is entirely unprepared for World War II. It was a huge mistake. You know, that was the mistake. I mean, the mistake for Germany was also starting World War II. Okay, we get submarine engines and submarine long range. So what I want to do here is, those will be grayed out. Well, this one isn't, but we want to come over and do these and get these being researched as fast as possible. So yeah, no, Italy should not have come in to World War II. And not just in hindsight, because we know Germany loses. It just was ill prepared for it. Oh, another Russian bot. Wow. I guess I'm getting popular in Russia or something. Or they think you want to go wherever, or whatever it is. I have no idea. Don't follow the link. I wouldn't. You can see here this huge, not very deep, but there's a huge artificial lake that they're building out here. And that's a photo after the water's filled. Der March C, and this is just an example of one of many sort of civic improvement programs that the Nazis are doing. One, yes, to improve, you know, give the, wherever this is, lower Hanover and lower Saxony, which sort of means upper Saxony, and that lower down the river, but up here, as far as I know. but they're doing these types of things all over Germany, partially just to give employment to the men primarily. Um, Talked about that just a few moments ago, but give employment to people there. And then, of course, you have a lot of boating and other activities once the lake is done. That means people will be, employed, selling popcorn or whatever to visitors um, once it's open going as a public thing. So it will help the economy. But they're doing a lot of that. So I sort of force you, TRE, to spend money on other things. Okay, have fun. Go watch Bond. Hope it was like a good one with Roger Moore or Sean Connery. Okay, I want to keep these episodes from getting too long, so let's sit there and save this. And I think we will end this episode, not the live stream, just the episode here. I want to thank those watching later on YouTube. Thank you so much. Love having you here. See you next time for even more, yes, more Hearts of Iron. And stop. Okay, let's start another episode. I need to test this thing. But I also need to get a cough lozenge before we go so I don't keep talking too. So I'll be right back. Sore throat lozenge, whatever. Almost back. How many times are you doing it? Try another day. Thank you, Arno. Lazenby was all right. He played his role well, I would say. I just think the story. James Bond getting married should have been a more epic story. and his hunt for the killer should have been a much more epic thing than just pretending to be some sort of Scottish genealogist that goes to a Swiss chalet and acts coy around a bunch of women while wearing a kilt. The book is much better. But I don't really know whether it's Lazenby's. I don't think Lazenby is a great actor. I mean, he does almost nothing else. Now, his limited career, he's more of a model than an actor. I'm not saying he did bad in his role, but he didn't play his not James Bond, but the character that James Bond was sort of playing as that sort of genealogist guy. He didn't play that well. I don't know that any of the other Bonds would have played that well, but probably would have done better than him. You just don't get. You sort of get the tragedy of, and I forget the name of the woman that the character of the woman that he marries and whatnot. I know she's like the daughter of some French mob boss or whatever. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but he definitely seems very sad and broken up over it. But you just don't get any real passion out of Lazenby, in my opinion, of his hunt to go after the killer of his wife. I just oh yeah, he had it physically. That's I mean he was a model, an Australian model, and he other than the accent problem, which never really goes away. Not that it's bad. I mean he's not coming off as some sort of Aussie or whatever, but it's not real bad. Probably shouldn't even go there, but you just don't have that. What would be just and I don't know how he was trying to play that, but it just it should be a driven sort of thing, and that. But yeah, he fits it right. I like more, but he was the wimpy Bond. Well, you look at Live and Let Die and Man with the Golden Gun. I wouldn't go wimpy Bond. Now he's definitely the slick Bond, the Bond with doesn't want to get his hair messed up too much. And you can even like The Spy Who Loved Me. Now you're looking at some of the later stuff, because you remember Moore and Connery are about the same age, so later on he's getting a bit old for the character, and so he's not doing action Bond well, probably. Roger Moore later on. Thank you, Arno. Well, I think the next Bond's going to be a woman, probably a woman of color. Gotta do that. I think haven't they already sort of said that it's going to be a woman of color? I mean, because they killed the real Bond. The real Bond's dead, so it's not going to be another guy. It's just going to be Janie Bond or whatever, So yeah, no, Bond to me is over. I'm done. I mean, I love the old Bond, but I don't, I haven't watched. I think the last two. Definitely didn't watch this last one. I mean, I watched the first two. The Casino Royale, the first proper movie interpretation of the book. Because there's an old TV thing, which I actually have an old VHS of. And then there's, of course, the Casino Royale movie starring Woody Allen and Peter Sellers and all these other people, David Niven, all playing a sort of Bond-like named character. And it's a goofy comedy. It's a fun comedy, but it isn't a Bond movie in the classic sense. It'll be redacted. Oh, so he said something that got redacted there. Waldy. Okay. It'll be fucked. Yeah, well, probably will be. So yeah, yeah. I don't think it was your marking. It's just what YouTube did or whatever you said. I don't know. I may agree with you. Um, so yeah, so I think it's the last two because I Casino Royale and the movie after that I definitely saw. I don't think I've seen anymore. I just lost interest. Yeah, after they sort of killed off the M character. Um, and yeah, I wasn't upset that M was a woman. Fine, you know. I mean, the old guy who played it forever obviously is passed. You know, died by that point. Um, you know, so okay, you know, so M's a woman, big deal. But then they kill her off badly. I just sort of gave up on it then. Oh, you did? No, I did it. Reacted. Oh, okay. Oh, stuff you can't. Hopefully, yeah. I don't know. You know, some stuff I might not agree with you, but you trust me. You know, I'm definitely on the conservative side of things, but you know, I have, you know, yeah, you like I say, Judy Dench or whatever, and yeah, I know she's getting older or whatever, but yeah, she did fine as M, you know, not you know, a gender swap once in a while. That's not upsetting me, you know, especially if you know the original set of you know, the guy who plays M for however long, I forget his name. I'm picturing his face. You know, he's passed on or retired or whatever, and you got to find a new person. And okay, yeah, you know, hello, Judy Dench. Yes, yeah, yeah. I'm fine with yeah. Hello, Leto. Um, I'm fine with that. That was fine. But I just after that movie, you know, the way they kill her off and all that stuff, I just didn't like that movie, and I just lost interest. Daniel Craig, I think, especially the first couple of movies or whatever, does a good job. But and I sort of like that with Casino Royale, it had gotten to where the Bond is always saving the world. Okay, where if you go back to Live and Let Die, he's just dealing with a drug dealer who's you know, also a you know, tin pot dictator in some, you know, Caribbean island nation. You know, he's not saving the world from I forget who, the Drax in Moonraker. You know, who's going to put out the flower poison that was going to kill all human life, not all life, just all human life on the planet. You know, so he's saving the world there. Okay, but it gets to the point that Bond, especially in the Timothy Dalton. Uh, the other guy. I blank on names, people. The guy who played Remington Steele, Pierce Brosnan. That's it. I don't know if you said that. You know, it gets to, you know, every mission is like saving the world from some nuclear devastation, or maybe not like all life dead, but you know, it's not just like, hey, we're trying to break up one little spy ring somewhere and it gets really fucking dangerous for the participants. No, it's saving the world. So it gets overly dramatic, everything, instead of just a good story with a lot of really good actions and a few really great explosions and a couple of really great cars. I mean, that's sort of, see, that's the real key to Bond, and especially if you read some of the you guys got me on a topic other than World War II, and I'm enjoying it because I do like to talk about these other things. So I've read the original books by Ian Fleming. It's been a long time, so I can't like quote or give details of all of them. But you know, you have stories that you know are, you know, there's a really good story, some really great action, a few great explosions, especially once you get it to the movie theater, and some really cool cars, again, more in the movie theater, but and some really beautiful women. That is the Bond story, okay? That is the Bond story. And now sometimes it can be saving the planet or something, you know. I don't mean like in a green way, like gotta save, you know, green save it, but you know, save it from some devastation attack or whatever. And like Thunderball. Okay, Thunderball. The bad guy has what, 2 or 4 nukes. That's all he has. And he's in the original Thunderball. I mean, you have the Never Say Never Again remake of it, but you have he's a Spectre agent, and all he's really doing is they get a Vulcan bomber to soft land in the ocean, and they recover the nuclear bombs on them, and then they're blackmailing like potentially any major city in the world, and so he wants a lot of money. But there's only going to be 2 or 3 nuclear explosions. Yeah, it could be millions dead, no doubt, but it isn't saving the world. Or you go to From Russia with Love, and it's all about getting a coding machine, in Constantinople and whatnot, and they're all just trying to break into a Soviet embassy to get the coding machine, and then Spectre is trying to then, after James Bond done that, trying to steal it from James Bond, and they're all doing the chase across Yugoslavia or whatever, or wherever it is. It's down in the Balkans here. I forget the details. And it's a really cool movie, just about trying to get this coding machine, and this woman spy who thinks she's working for Russia, but in fact it's a false flag operation because the Spectre people have infiltrated both Russia and other nations. So this former loyal Russian is now working for Spectre, the Krebs woman, and convinces Teresa whatever to help James Bond steal it, thinking that she's working for the Soviets, but really she's helping out the Spectre people, and then she comes to sort of realize it and helps Bond get through all this stuff. That's really cool. So, that's what James Bond is. And so, yeah, I could forgive all the new stuff until they broke Bond. That I couldn't forgive. Bond is always cool, always cocky. Yeah, I always get girls. Yeah, I'm not even, because maybe it's something that that happened after I've stopped watching Bond. I mean, I see the commercials for it, but don't keep watching. I get enough of reality. My reality, right? Not to mention the chick was smoking hot. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, and so yeah, you that's the essence of Bond. But you got to have that good story. And Timothy Dalton does an okay Bond. I think Pierce Brosnan does a better Bond. But by then, it's become, for both of them, Bond is becoming a caricature, a comic, if you will. And the stories are lacking. You got some really cool characters within the movies, some villains, some non-villains, not necessarily heroes, but the good guy sides. And you have some good action sequences, Pierce Brosnan skidding his tank around, I don't know if at that time it was still called Leningrad or it was already St. Petersburg, around and that was sort of cool. It's sort of cool for a quick ride within it and sort of spectacular. It's all right. I would, if you like Bond, I would recommend that, but it's not, it's a bit more comical. I don't mean comical. Sometimes it's funny, but you go back, everything since Dr. No, they thought it didn't lack. It was a little too cold-blooded, so they add a little bit of humor to, especially when Bond is killing somebody, like when he throws in the fan into the bathtub to kill somebody with electricity. Oh, that's shocking, or whatever, and it's sort of a bit of a laugh. Not talking comical as in that, but more as in like comic book, kind of comic book version of Bond that he becomes. And cars that can drive upside down because they have spikes that come out of their tires in the ice, and so he's driving his car and somehow it's gripping the ice as it's going. Now speed, I think centrifugal force they're also sort of relying upon, and some sort of thing up in Antarctica, I forget. You can tell I sort of mushed and not remembered all the Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton stuff so well. that's sort of in the era where they lost their way, and then I thought they found their way. I mean, they're worth watching, but they're not great films. It's Roger Moore and Sean Connery are the great films. I thought with Daniel Craig and the Casino Royale they were going to be doing great films, but people in Hollywood just cannot write movies, or where, I mean, obviously they're not all people sitting in Hollywood physically, but you know what I mean, is the modern movie studio system does not produce good writing anymore. Because, you know, they talk about, well, we need a woman Bond. Woman should be Bond. Well, what about that Charlize Theron spy movie? I forget the name, that she plays a blonde secret agent. I mean, it's not a Bond movie, but that was a pretty damn good movie. That the woman was the main sort of hero character running around in that, and that was forgetting the name of the movie. And then you sort of have the other one that was set in L.A., the Peppermint or whatever, where a woman who goes on a vengeance streak against some hoods or whatever. You know, so you can have spy movies that are women focused, and I forget the Charlize Theron movie name that was sort of set in Berlin. That was a pretty good. Salt, was it? Yeah, it could be. Hello, Alberto 5. How you doing? Atomic Blonde. That's it. Atomic Blonde. That's it. Atomic Blonde. Stephen Hawking is Bond in Access Ramp to Kill. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Let me sorry. Yeah, GoldenEye wasn't so bad. Now that you mentioned that name, it was in Berlin. That's right. Atomic Blonde. And I thought that was actually going to be starting of a franchise. I mean, it was set up to be. So you know, I thought she did great in it. I thought it was a reasonably good. You know, I mean, it wasn't greatness, but it was a pretty damn good movie, Atomic Blonde. And so, if you want to have a spy thriller that stars a hot woman, well, there you go. You got it. You don't need to steal James Bond's mantle or whatever you want to call him to do it. It's just laziness. It's just gender swap, gender bullshit, laziness that Hollywood wants to do, and will just kill things even more. So, like I say, I was fairly young. My older cousin took me to see. Moonraker was my first Bond movie. Was Moonraker. Took me to see that. That was the first one I saw, and until the whatever Daniel Craig, I think it was the first two. I'd seen every single Bond thing, including the Jimmy Bond American one that was like a 1-hour television special. That's not a movie, that was licensed, and I saw a videotape copy of it years and years ago now. Saw everything James Bond up until that point. So fairly big fan, but they killed it already. I mean, before even this last one, they killed it for me. That I wasn't interested enough to go to the theater. Wasn't interested enough to watch it on whatever, you know, HBO or whatever it's been on, and that I used to subscribe to back then. And haven't pirated it or anything like that. Hasn't been interested enough to motivate me to watch it. I don't think they will make a Bond woman. They made a Bond 007 a woman in the last one, so they might again in the next movie to follow, No Time to Die. Well, yeah, okay, well, you know, why the fuck do they make even a 007 woman? The lore that becomes, I don't know if it was originally that way, but 00 numbers were the ones that were allowed to be assassins, allowed to kill. Agents that were, you know, you didn't have to go get permission to kill. And presumably, there was less than 10 of them, because 0010 or 0011 might not make sense. So why not just, if you're going to have a 00, well, make it 005 or 008 or 00 whatever. It's just stealing what is already there. Your mom wanted to go. It's the D worm. I think it's, I don't know what D stands for. Worm is, I guess, German for dragon or something. And it's a collection of mods that have been put together. Now, the current distribution that Revolver Held put out has serious problems. I've sent him or posted it on the thread for GGA, the corrected version. And one, you want to delete the laws file in what he's distributed. I think he'll do a new package and put it out. He may have already done so since I started streaming this, if he's paid attention yet. I'm sure you'll see it, whether he's asleep now or do it tomorrow or next few days. But the country files that the DWorm had needed updating. And I did that earlier today before the stream. That's sort of why we're streaming this here. So there are a good set of mods. Oh, yeah, well, Doctor Who would be another sort of rant for me. So, yeah. So, yeah. Okay, let's make another episode here. I guess, not that I won't mention it again, but enough of the main talk on James Bond. Okay, well, you go to the Black Ice Forum and look for the German graphical augmentations thread, and it is packaged as part of the German graphical augmentations, or German gameplay augmentations pack. It's packaged in there. But you need to be a little bit smart. You either need to wait or follow down through the thread. It's we've now gone into the next page, I know, but it's in the last like 2 pages of posts. His initial posting of his beta, he calls it beta there, so he knows it may need work. He says so in his post, and then find my upload of our RARD files and unzip and figure out where they go. It's in commons, countries, and then they go there, but you can try to figure it out or wait a little bit. Hi, Ragar. Still no war on Ukraine. Yep. You're talking modern day? Yep. Well, no, there's still the Donbass war going on, but no new major invasions. So, yeah, if you're talking modern day. Okay. Let's make another episode. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing play testing of Black Ice 11.1 mod with Third Reich events, German gameplay augmentation, units of the Third Reich, and the DWorms mods. So we're continuing this on. But if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, everyone can give it a like to appreciate it. Not yet. Not where. Arno, all I'm doing is making factories now. That's all I'm doing. Nothing but making factories. And it won't be probably time until 1938. Mass events advance. At soonest, or anything like a heavy tank unit. Dual purpose guns. I know you like the heavies. We'll get there if we play long enough. And again, those watching, if you think this is the start of a big series, well, I'm sorry, it's probably not. This is before starting the live stream on which I'm recording this on. Oh no, we need to be up here. Table. Yes, there we are. Yeah. Stop this. Half an hour before starting the live stream, I was still just getting ready with fixing problems and whatnot, and so I just need to test this. So it was either test this, sleep, or do something I really wasn't prepared to do, like play a game that I hadn't set up ready. So yeah, things aren't perfect, but how to kill a YouTube channel. Okay. I know people want to see a good playthrough, something you can watch through and get attached to, but that unfortunately isn't what we're doing right now. Yes, I'm very much of an infrastructure player. I want to do that. Get that going and everything else will follow from there. I've learned that about myself. 37 technologies, because we're But much of the 36 either. Oh no, we don't. There. Okay. Almost another whole point. We can do improved security. That would be nice. Yes. Only the Crimean War. The Valley of the Death Road, the 600. I don't know the poem beyond that, but I understand the Charge of the Light Brigade factories. So okay, we're going to wait till after those first run of factories get done to do these. Again, all these decisions that I'm hovering over here all need to be taken sometime during 1936, or they'll go away and you'll miss them. Hey, Beam Slam, how you doing? Yep. One thing I'm not sure because I didn't risk doing this. But it was reported another thing. I'm not sure if I fixed it with fixing the deworm mod problem or not. But if you try to save it in January of 1936, is more than likely had been to crash. So wait till February comes around and then save. It seems to work. Again, I didn't test it on this exact build, but that's had been my noticed behavior. But then this is seeming so far been stable, so that's doing good. But I did get some serious bugs crushed. Okay, how is Sweden doing? Okay, they're trying to align themselves towards me already. Let's see if we can get Norway to be a little more friendly. How are we doing there? Yeah, let's influence them. Hey, Spiraling, how you doing? I know it's a disgusting thing to say, but I was hoping Russia would invade Ukraine. I find it incredibly fascinating. Well, obviously, a war in your neighborhood is never a good idea. If you can avoid it, do so. So it would be bad for. But there's already a war going on there. Would be, I guess, fascinating, but not in. I don't know. I hear you wanting to sort of see what might happen, but it could easily go sideways. Now Ragar. There's been no war yet, but you do know what happened. There was, I forget which carrier, but one of the major U.S. carriers was on its way to the Indian Ocean, and the U.S. administration stopped it here, and it's still, to my knowledge, here. Somewhere in this part of the Mediterranean. So instead of deploying, it wasn't coming home. It was heading out to the Indian Ocean to fly whatever out here, maybe off of wherever. But instead of being out in the Indian Ocean where it was scheduled to be, they've stopped it and it's now hanging out in the Eastern Mediterranean somewhere. I don't know if it's like doing a port call, like hey, everybody gets the weekend off in Athens, or if it's out at sea running track drills, for the aircraft or whatever it's doing. But we stopped an American aircraft carrier. Didn't quite provocatively push it, to my knowledge at least. This is just like within the last week or so. Last week or two, I think is when they stopped it. And to my knowledge, it's still there. I haven't heard that it's moved yet. Not that I for sure that I would hear, but I'm not paying that close of attention. I mean, because it's you can follow it and it's reported, and trust me, people notice a carrier going through the Suez Canal. So you might be able to hide it somewhere, but you're not hiding it going through the Suez Canal. If the people who pay attention will know, and I don't even mean the spies. I mean just the people who people like Janes and other people that watch these things. Haven't quite moved it into the Black Sea, but stopping it here is a very big sign to the Russians that things might happen. And the U.S. sends multiple spy planes to recon rebel positions in Crimea. Seems like they're planning something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know. biplanes, I'm not doubting you saying it, but that's definitely something, because obviously we're always doing spy satellites that we move around and look around anyways at different places. Okay. Twin engine bomb bay, I presume. Yeah. Oh, that was a kilogram bomb. By the way, are carriers even allowed? Yes, they are allowed into the Black Sea. There's generally transit rights through the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles. I don't know the U.S. policy, because obviously the closer you get to somewhere, the more danger they are. So I don't know the U.S. policy on putting a carrier into the Black Sea. It's a fairly long flight taking off here and coming up to here. Now, there with in-air refueling, it's quite doable. And then obviously through some NATO type sponsored basing, you can refuel. You load up the bombs, you fly up here, you land, you get refueled, you take off, and you bomb and you come home. I don't quite know the operating range, effective ranges for current carrier aircraft, whether you can do it from the Aegean or whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely it's a big sign to the Russians that we are taking this seriously, because they could have easily just let it go on to the sort of the, again, like, we don't normally at least put like carriers into the Persian Gulf. We normally keep them out here, but maybe they've been coming in. I don't know. I'm not sure on that. But my friend Kushan would know. Good streamer. I don't know if he's on right now. He might be on the Slytherin channel. He would know better. He keeps track of a lot of that stuff. Kushan. But he'd be on Slytherin TV right now if he is. How should you do geopolitical education? Yeah, but nobody would watch them. In fact, when I do them, nobody watches them. I've done a few. There's a few type things on the channel like that. Is there Ragar? Well, I'm not sure. That could be. I'm not sure. I don't know the Montreal or whatever convention. I don't know it, and trust me, I don't know everything. And I obviously haven't done any particular looking into it. Great War analysis. Let's come over here. Trust me, there's a lot of things I don't know, and including just in fields that I sort of kind of look into and sort of kind of follow. Obviously, I don't know rocket science or something, or brain surgery, but even things that I do sort of pay attention to, trust me, there's still significant gaps. And if I were trying to do a little better, so what I label either my live talks or my my videos normally as commentary, because I know I'm getting the history wrong on things I'm talking about, just because I know I'm not always right. But when I research, like for events, for Third Reich events, I do pretty good research. So the history is pretty solid. Okay, I'm looking here. What we want to do with. Okay, let's do a little more spying to try to steal some text. Let's see. Let's spy in Japan. They have a navy. Maybe they're doing good navy tech that we could steal. And let's spy on Britain. Maybe they're also advanced in the navy, because I'm not doing much navy research. Are you talking military history, like military campaigns? Are you talking generals and doing that stuff? Or are you talking about Germany, like Nazi Germany, and trying to understand what's going on there, and not not talking details of the invasion of France, or narrow down a little bit more, Mum. I guess that's what I'm calling you. Small warship armament. Okay, well, interesting books on Germany. Hitler's Monsters by Eric. I forget his last name. Eric Kurlander. You can find it on Amazon. Hitler's Monsters. Highly recommend that book. Hitler's Compromises. I forget the author of that. Those two are very good at trying to understand Nazi Germany. They're very different. I'm not going to alt tab and look out to a third book that's sort of similar to that type of thing. I'm going to pull it off the shelf over here. This other book that I have here, just because I don't want to alt tab out of this too much. One other book there's a total of 3 books. I lost literally one of them years ago now, and I don't know where the hell it is. But just interesting books. I don't know if these are best books, but one of them is called Hitler's Wartime Picture Magazine, Signal, Signal. And then there's a Years of Advance and Years of Retreat. It's two books. I don't have Years of Advance in my hands. I've lost it somewhere. I don't know. I have Years of Retreat. And these are all taken from Signal magazine, which was the Heer's, the Army's magazine, and it was published in English during the war, mainly for. They did try to get it out, to my knowledge, to neutral countries, for sure, but their one main audience for this were the Channel Islands. So it was published in English for the Channel Islands, and these are books that I don't think are in print anymore, but you can find used maybe, but maybe they're in print, I don't know. And so you get the German perspective of what they wanted to show people talking about the Army, and it's just sort of samples from the stuff, but it's in the English language. Sort of interesting thing that you might find. You probably acted like spoiled brats in the last 12 years or so. Seems like the whole EU project mess. Critical thinking. Yeah, well, the EU project is going off the tail. Now, if you want more campaign stuff, you have like Achtung Panzer by one Heinz Guderian. You may have heard of him. You have Panzerleader, which is more of a wartime thing, also by Heinz Guderian. And you have Lost Victories by von Manstein. Panzerleader and Lost Victories are now our post-war books. So you might be interested in those. I had an English book with signal issues, a few, but probably not the book you mentioned. Yeah. Well, these are, they're just all, extracts, pages from different magazines, all cobbled together into book format as sort of samples. You get samples of advertising and stories, and it's German propaganda, but it's just interesting to see the war from their perspective during the war. Not after the war, trying to justify it or trying to run away from the Holocaust and other atrocities. They don't bring that up in these books, of course. They're all trying to be positive and whatnot, but very interesting stuff. And all these have informed me over the years, some more recent. Obviously Panzer Leader and Lost Victories, those are written post-war by the generals, so those are fairly old. These, so some of the stuff is old stuff. Some of the stuff like Hitler's Monsters. I think the other one I'm also thinking of is Hitler's Empire, but I'm not sure on that title. But definitely Hitler's Empire and Hitler's Compromises are good looks at Germany and trying to understand the Nazis and their rule internally. So David Irving's books recently, Goebbels, Himmler, Göring, down. Right, I've not read his books. Now I've read, I've done a lot of research back when I actually took a course. I know some of you know this. I repeat myself a lot because I know it's not the same audience always. Back when I was in university, I did take a semester-long course on, Hitler. Not that many students in that course. But so yeah, I've done, proper upper division university work. And a reading book like Charles Flood's book, which deals with Hitler's rise to power. Read that, and then I've read, the classic work, 2-volume set by John Toland, The Rise and Fall of Adolf Hitler. So I know there's more recent scholarly work and whatnot going on than some of the stuff I've read. But yeah, I don't know that anyone's largely discredited Toland on his book on Hitler. I'm not saying there aren't newer, better research stuff, but yeah, there's a lot out there to read, and there's a lot that I haven't read. I'm sure. I know of the name David Irving, but I have not read his works. Lone pictures are worth the magazines, of course. And it's almost pure propaganda sometimes. There's a bunch of colored pictures and covers and whatnot in the Signal magazines. Now, see, Signal is specifically the Army's publication out to civilians kind of thing. It's not an internal, how-to, it's not manuals. It's not a internal journal. It's a external kind of work. But it is their primary source work. It's not necessarily correct because they're giving you propaganda, but it is primary source to understand what's going on. In primary school had some original issues, very interesting, yes. Okay, small warship, armament, advanced small warship engine, machine gun focus. Okay, I either want to make sure that we should keep researching them, or we're going to keep on that, but those two are grayed out. And the other one is machine guns, which I think is this, and which we're going to stop. Okay. Now, get that one going. Let's do this. So yeah, I don't know how many books on World War II I have, but I'm sure it's in the multiple hundreds. I'm not saying thousands, but in the multiple hundreds. Broadcasting, okay, we can do some of that. Okay, invest in our schools of war. And yeah, sometimes I bought, used bunch of collections, but I've read most of the books or skimmed them for basic stuff. Okay. Now, we currently need no consumer goods to do on our current. You can push to having war economy, and 37 I've decided I think is when I'm going to, maybe before then, turn on to bigger conscription. That just reduces your ICs by 1% over what it currently is, I think is what it is, but it's not that big of a hit. So I probably don't need, right now, we might, because it's not so much the money, and again, I've reduced some of these money things. I don't know if I reduced these, but don't know that we need the 4% negative here. Normally that's what I would do, but we're doing so well. What we are often facing here, though, this playthrough is not bad. We have a 51% National Socialism. That is very good. But if you've noticed some of my recent playthroughs, we're often hovering at somewhere between 40 and 30% approval. This is interesting that we're seeing the fascists next, and these are all sort of small. I don't know why these happen, and now I don't know how much the D-Worms mod or GGA might be influencing this. I'm sure GGA maybe a bit more. We can see small news and politics and TRE. Pure Princip. I think that's Black Ice or Standard. Yeah, Oust Minister, of course, which is him. That's Foreign Minister, German Constant North. But we're also getting quote unquote internal factors, 1.8. So that's doing pretty good, but I've seen it go down a lot less. I would say this is easily actual support for the Nazis generally going at this time. So what I think we're going to do here is to make sure that we keep good ruling party support. We're going to go for news and politics as our next push. Walter Wever, and he is a good pilot for being an old man. He had been in the army and transferred over to the, and he dies. It's like you saw, like an 80% chance that he dies in the accident. I gave him a 20% chance of surviving. It's like clips or something on the wings that kept the flaps from properly deploying on takeoff that then caused the crash. So no matter how good a pilot he was, it was going to crash. Just was he going to survive the crash, I guess. And I decided to give him a chance of survival. Twin engine airframe advance. Okay, that's grayed out. Let's get that over to here. Yeah, I'm fairly well informed on World War II, but there's, trust me, gaps in my knowledge, insignificant ones. I'm still working at trying to understand just really what National Socialism was for Germany. Because the popular view, both currently, currently I don't necessarily mean view today, now so much, but since like 1970 or before, the sort of popular view of National Socialism is just fascism plus super racism. One, they weren't fascist; they were totalitarian, but weren't fascist. We're going to start. If you want to, TRE removes all the forts, and which shouldn't be there, because there weren't forts there at the start of the game. If you don't want to manually have to build them all back, which would be sort of a stupid idea, you want to start the program here. And notice it's going to tell, well, it will be removed. It's because January 1, 1968 means just to the end of the game. This Pioneer Program modifier will be removed at some point, but you're going to pay for it. 3% of ICs, manpower down, money down. Yes, there are money costs in TRE, but it is not the primary plus all of the, the initial stuff. And there will be more cost as time goes on for the program. So it isn't just this cost. But it's a big hit to your energy, 10,000. So yeah, TRE is not meant to be a free things or make Germany easy. It's just how I'm sure I'm wrong because I'm making guesses of what the cost should be or whatever. But I'm making guesses of trying to be realistic in what's going on here. Is how I view it. Okay, into Oblivion and Kharkov to Stalingrad, the story of the Pioneer Battalion. Okay, that could be interesting. Yeah, so I remove all the forts at the start of the game, or very close to it when the TRE starts. Remove all the forts, in this part of the stuff. There are, and gets expanded, but there are some that are historical ones that are sort of around different parts of Germany that were pre-existing in 36, and which I don't touch, but it's just the West Wall, even the parts that Germany could militarize, this part down here, had not. It's the best of my knowledge, and at the start of 1936, it's more like the Pioneer starting now. Pioneer program starts now. None of them had been built or nothing of any significance. just cover this one since it's short. Tag der SA Gruppe Nord C. That means the day of the SA Group North Sea. Just I'm highlighting this one because I found the poster for the event. You can see June 6th through the 7th. That's the copy of the actual poster. A tinny. A tinny is a badge that is sold at the event. Maybe the guys in uniform could wear it that day, maybe, but I'm not even sure on that. It's not for your uniform. It's more to sell to the attendees, not the SA men so much, but like their family, friends, and other people for profit. So they're cheap little badges that are made, and let's say they cost a penny to make, they sell them for 5 cents, or they cost 5 cents, they sell them for a dime, or whatever it is. You get the point. And so it's a fundraising thing that you raise funds off of, and you get to get a souvenir badge, and people collected them. So that's a copy of it. And this, I do believe also, and I'd have to look up, is actually a photo from the event. And Day of the SA Group in Bremen, so it's up here, here in Bremen. Is a good public relations event and should increase. Now these kinds of things are going during the right seasons, like not in the winter and times like that so much. These are going on all the time, all over Germany, events like these. And this is just, I happen to be able to get a photo of an actual tinny from the event, because you see they're highlighting the lighthouse tower there and whatnot in the poster and the tinny to make that out. And this is just a sample of what's going on. And there's a few of these days I put in with the essay to just sort of show what is going on inside Nazi Germany at this time, to get a little bit of a flavor of it. And before it's scattered around, they built some in the First World War along the border to Denmark. As far as I know, they might still be sort of active. Oh yeah, well no, they wouldn't be. Would they? Because well, I don't know. Well, okay, I don't know for sure, because I think it's these two provinces here, I think were German at the start of World War I, and go to Denmark for some reason, I don't know particularly why, for post World War I think so. I may be wrong. I know, Beam Slam, you're from the area. You can correct me if you know. But I think there's a bit of a border change. So, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. And I know there's some of these forts, and it's actually been extended here through events dealing with the deworms mods, that they did sort of build forts here. Correct, by an election. Okay, so it was sort of one of Wilson's 14 points thingy that, if people want to vote, local determination of what country you want to belong to. Okay, yeah, I get that point now, by election, why it happened. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm not saying there's no, whether these anti-aircraft guns should be here at the start of the game or not, I don't know. And some of these other like border forts or something that may or may not should be here, I don't know. But I definitely know none of the ones in this part should be there, because all the German stuff from World War I would be much deeper in France, what becomes France, because the World War I borders. And basically, I mean, maybe not 100%, but basically all this area along the Rhine is occupied by France and or the other Western Allies and demilitarized, so they would have destroyed any significant levels of fortifications that would have existed then, so and since this is demilitarized, there would be, again, no significant fortifications before the start of 1936. Advanced training centers, I think that is, yes, here, let's stop that. That's why I felt very comfortable in just removing them, and then having an event chain that if you pick the right thing, and then there's more stuff. Because also I don't like in Hearts of Iron 4 the whole national focus is sort of okay, but I don't like the click button, wait 70 days, get result. Where this is click button, yeah, it pops up, click button, yes, I want to do it. Nothing's changed here because we're only starting the building of it. There are events that are leading up until 1939 that will add more and more to this area and along here. And you could build more. I often thought maybe I should have another either event or another option to dump in more resources to build a heavier wall, but I don't know. I sort of went with what I sort of guessed / would want to play with when I was originally making it. I haven't really re-examined it since then. Well, let's see what, okay, we can do that. And yeah, to a point, very much the start of my working on Third Reich events is very much made around the way I want to play the game and the sort of historical. And it's continued to this day. There are events that were significantly created by others that deal with, say, the switching of sides in Third Reich events of Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria in particular. And now I've definitely looked at the coding and make sure that it works right. But when I'm building it, I sort of presume a certain level of success because, again, my play style, just as a player, is that, well, if I failed, I normally don't play till the enemy takes Berlin. I play until and I've failed in playing. Sometimes, like this last invasion of Russia just didn't go well, but I was just, again, experimenting, sort of like I'm doing now, not really playing terribly seriously. But I've played seriously and sort of failed, and just realized, oh, I failed. I'm not going to take Russia, or whatever. And I realized, okay, well, it's been 6 months since I started my last game, before doing YouTube and even after doing YouTube. Take a long time playing, play slowly, play meticulously. Well, let's just start a new campaign. I've learned my lessons, start over, instead of like playing to the end. So I don't necessarily, for Third Reich events now, some of the stuff that the D-Worm does and some of the stuff that I haven't necessarily experienced that Revolverheld does with GGA does cover collapsing fronts, of the Eastern Front of the Mediterranean, so that you can continue playing and seeing how that plays out. And it's not bad that he does it, but I just haven't put a lot of effort into it. And two, the further you get into the war, it's harder to program events because setting the right conditions. Right now we know presumably everybody's at peace and we sort of know what's going on, so it's sort of easy to put in historical events. But do you know if or when, do you make an event presuming that the Axis does not have Malta or something, or do you put in a bunch of conditions? Fire this event after this date, but not if they control this, but if they control that, but if not, and you can sort of see how the conditions for have to be programmed in, and it gets harder and harder to figure out what would be historical events and when to fire them and whatnot. So that's why TRE does definitely goes into the war time period, but it gets a little harder and harder to work it out. And like, because of some of my contributors, definitely has a pretty good dealing with. Now I don't know how well it will play with Revolverheld sort of stuff dealing with the similar sorts of issues. I don't know. I haven't looked at his code. What just happened? Artillery. Just look, that would be over here. 36. We'll let that continue. If he's also sort of double covers it, which could cause problems, I don't know. But I did have, I forget which contributor it was. Okay, Italy annexes Abyssinia formally now. Okay, cool. That definitely dealt with these nations, but these are, the Soviets have to be pushing in, or non-German, non-Axis control of certain provinces to happen, and they start switching sides. So it's not timed just on history or, some historical date. It's on a certain calculation of conditions. Okay. Well, guys, my throat is giving me problems, and it's getting a little harder to talk here. And I think I want to save my voice. Thank you, Arno. Yes, you can give the stream a thumbs up. It does help. But I think I'm going to end this for the day, both the live stream and the recording. Tomorrow, I hope to be back. I think I will, playing some War Thunder. So you guys are happy to either join and watch, or actually join, and we'll make room for you at least on a few battles. And we'll. No, I really think I need to stop talking right now. I really do. This isn't just me being lazy. I really think I need to stop talking. So, yeah, if you're new here, because I don't know that I've seen Mum Waldy before, you hit the like or hit the subscribe button or follow on Twitch. So I'm live on both. And we'll see you tomorrow, or check out some of my live videos. Tuesday, I will be streaming for Slytherin. I forget what game it is. And of course, be back live next weekend. So thanks, everyone. See you then. I really do appreciate y'all.